Good afternoon, everybody. Today I brought a cup of tea. Good cuppa and lipstick stains on the cup. If you're joining me for the first time, I am Rolene Marks, and this is the Israel Brief, where our community of Israel briefers from around the world meet every Monday to Thursday to take a look at the top stories making headlines in Israel, the stories that you won't see in the mainstream media. As always, the Israel Brief is brought to you in partnership with these guys, Lay of the Land. Now today is day 459, and being the 7th of January marks exactly 15 months since the atrocities committed by Hamas on the 7th of October. On the 7th of October, Hamas infiltrated southern Israel, murdering, raping, mutilating and torturing over 1,200 people and taking over 250 hostage. To date, 100 hostages remain captive in the Gaza Strip by Hamas terrorists and Palestinian Islamic Jihad terrorists. They are of many different faiths and from over 20 different countries. So let's take a look at those top stories, and we begin with hostage negotiations, which are currently underway in Qatar. Now, the Qatari Ministry of Foreign Affairs described the atmosphere as tense but ongoing. Yesterday, hostage families were fuming when a list was leaked by the Saudi publication Al-Sharq Al-Awsat to various media. This was denied by the Prime Minister's office, who said that this was a list submitted to Hamas in July 2024. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister's office said earlier today that hostage negotiator Brigadier General Gal Hirsch will be meeting with representatives from the UK, the US, Germany, Canada, and Austria, who have come to Israel specifically for the issue of hostage negotiations. They will also meet with President Herzog later today. And President-elect Donald Trump has warned Hamas yet again that the hostages need to be released or else. He says they need to be returned immediately. He says, no, don't. And I think that was a swipe at President Biden, who on several occasions has said, don't, and has laid the blame squarely, or put the pressure rather, on Israel. In his interview with the New York Times, outgoing Secretary of State Antony Blinken admitted that the West's pressure on Israel and not Hamas gave Hamas the impetus to not release the hostages. A lot of you have seen in your news the Israeli Defense Forces raids on the Kamal Adwan Hospital in northern Gaza over the last week. Now, from Israel's perspective, we always respect the laws of armed conflict and will only attack these sites when their protected status has effectively been changed, which, by the way, is legal under international law and the laws of armed conflict. Now, a Nukhba terrorist who was arrested by the IDF during the raids has admitted that Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad routinely use hospitals as headquarters, as command posts. He went on to say they know that hospitals won't be targeted because of their protected status, and they are a haven for them, that weapons are smuggled in and out of the hospitals, and it is inside the hospitals that grenades, that RPGs and various other weaponry are handed out to various Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad fighters to launch attacks. Now, this is something that the international community needs to hear, because Hamas bank on the emotional reaction from many around the world that a hospital is being attacked. And now you are hearing from a captured terrorist exactly why Hamas and other terror entities use hospitals as command bases. A senior Israeli official from the Foreign Ministry has urged the international community to put the pressure on Turkey to stop their attacks on Kurds in northern Syria. To date, An estimated over 200,000 Kurds have been slaughtered by the Turks. It's amazing how nobody seems to be commenting on that. And 1 million have been denied access to water. It's absolutely extraordinary, the fact that we don't see much commentary coming from the international community. We don't see encampments on campuses, and we certainly don't see protests through the streets of major cities. They have also appealed for the access to water to be allowed for Kurds in northern Syria. And while I'm on the subject, the Nagel report that was handed to the Prime Minister has warned that Israel needs to prepare for a possible eventual war with Turkey. And finally, in a story that I'm going to try and get through without crying, I want to end today's broadcast by paying tribute to a remarkable woman, a friend of mine, a woman of valor, or an Eshet Chayil, as we would call it in Hebrew, the brilliant, the beautiful Olga Meshoe Washington. Many of us around the world were absolutely devastated last night to hear that our radiant friend, who was the most incredible advocate for the state of Israel, who was a proud daughter of South Africa, had passed away. We are devastated for Olga's father, for her family, but especially for her husband and 2 young sons. Olga was remarkable, a woman of unparalleled dignity and integrity. I used to call her Queen Olga, not in the sense that so many people say, yes, Queen or Queen this and Queen that, but because she carried herself like the Queen that she was. She was incredibly brilliant, unbelievably articulate, kind, gentle, sweet to everyone she met, and the fiercest advocate for Israel and the Jewish people. Some of you may be familiar with her videos talking about the awful canard of comparing Israel to apartheid South Africa in her absolutely brilliant way. You would know her videos from PragerU. You might know Olga from her involvement in Club Z, educating young people about the importance of standing with Israel and being proud of their Zionist identity. Olga was a woman of incredible faith, a very religious Christian woman who was also part of DAISY, defending, investing and supporting in Israel. IPSA, the Israel Black Solidarity Alliance. She was somebody I had the privilege and honor of calling a friend and a colleague through my spokesperson work at the South African Zionist Federation and through my volunteer work as the head of public diplomacy for World WITSO. She touched millions of lives around the world, and the world is a darker place with the passing of the incredible, the formidable, the radiant, and the remarkable Olga Meshoe Washington. Our thoughts, our love and prayers are with her family, and may her memory be eternally blessed. And now for today's question, and it comes from Michelle in New York. She says, Rolene, what extra can we be doing to support Israel right now? Well, I love that question because I think I'm talking to the best community in the world. Well, first of all, keep those prayers coming. Those prayers form our spiritual iron dome over our magnificent country. I think at a time when we see so many Jews, so many Israelis being shut out of public spaces, make sure that if this happens in your country and your community, that your authorities hear about it, that you protest this. You can support Israel and Jewish communities around the world by supporting their businesses, especially at a time when so many are calling for boycotts. You can visit us in Israel, and despite the intermittent rocket attacks from the Houthis, it is perfectly safe. We would love, love, love to have you visit us. Make sure that you are armed with the facts, that you know what the situation here is on the ground, and that you know how to counter some of the horrific propaganda. The brilliant Erin Molan said something so profound, because very often Israel is criticized about our public relations, and she said, Israel doesn't need a public relations campaign. Only those who have to manufacture propaganda on the other side need PR campaigns. And she's so right. We have truth, we have fact, we have history on our side, and make sure that you are armed with that. It helps not only to fight against the haters, but also to educate people. And another great way of doing this is sharing the work of the Israel Brief and Lay of the Land. And speaking of Lay of the Land, you can find us at www.layoftheland.online, our Facebook page at Lottel's site, our YouTube channel right here at the Israel Brief. We are in LinkedIn at Rolene Marks, on Instagram at Rolene_Marks, and on X at Lay of the Land 5. Guys, don't forget to get that mention moron of the week recommendation through to me. I will announce them on Thursday, and if you have a question, please pop it in the comment section below. In the meantime, God bless you all. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I toast l'chaim, to life, to all of you. God bless.